Well, welcome once again to the Ahern video podcast. Today I want to talk about planning for the unexpected. I've been receiving just a tremendous amount of emails and telephone calls saying I have this problem, I have this problem, I have this problem, or this catastrophe happened, this catastrophe happened, or what can I do to solve this problem? And the list goes on, and it gets down to the basics of how to run a business. I've always said that businesses can be very simple or they can be very complex. As human beings, we make it complex because we don't do planning. We don't set specific goals and objectives. We don't set time frames to accomplish our goals and objectives. We don't instill accountability programs in our employees. But as you're building your business, particularly in the transportation industry, that's a pennies business, it's a cyclical business, and it's a business right now that you should be making record profits because we don't have enough drivers. You need to focus on the unexpected. For example, I recently did an analysis for a client of mine, and I was very impressed with his business plan, but I said, "Where's your contingencies?" And he looked at me and he said, "What do you mean my contingencies?" I said, "Do you know that you had 138 tornadoes in a certain geographic area in a certain time frame?" "Yes." "What did you do to plan for those contingencies?" His comment was, "It's a fact of life." Well, it isn't a fact of life. It is a fact of life that the tornadoes are there, but it isn't a fact of life that you don't incorporate that into your business plan. And that's the point I'm trying to make. So there's certain things in certain geographic areas that you have to plan for to make sure it doesn't disrupt your business. Of course, the great snowstorm and the terrible weather of this last winter took a lot of companies down. But again, it has to do with not planning for the unexpected. I know it's hard enough to plan for the expected, but you need to plan for the unexpected. You need to have contingencies, you need to have backup plans, and you need to keep thinking outside of the box. And those are the things that I'm trying to impress to my readers, to my viewers, and to my clients. Don't just think you're okay just because everything's going along fine today. Keep thinking, keep reaching, keep challenging yourself to make sure that you don't become a statistic. I've stated that the auto liability limits are going to increase, and everybody says I'm full of hooey. It isn't. And what's going to happen to the smaller carriers when their auto liability limits go from $750,000 to $3 to $4 million? They're going to go out of business. So the bigger carriers are going to say, great, but what about the smaller carriers? What about the backbone of America? Well, plan for that. What are your options? How do you approach those options? Once you start looking for the options now. You don't start looking for options after the fact. I don't know if you saw the recent comments by the American Trucking Association against one law firm. But the one law firm had a picture of a truck, and in there they put serial blank. Come on. Well, fortunately, the American Trucking Association took a very strong stance. They got the law firm to apologize and retract the advertisement. But think about this. How come somebody didn't sanction those attorneys? How come somebody didn't disbar those attorneys? Because that is the most unethical approach I've seen. But the point I'm making is, whether it was right, wrong, or indifferent, this is what's happening in our society today. How do you prepare for the unexpected when one of your best friends at your employees all of a sudden turns a claim in against you? And those are the things that you have to start thinking of. You got to start thinking of the unexpected. You have to start thinking that we're in a very litigious society. Whether you like it or you dislike it, you need to prepare for that. You need to prepare for the fact that if you are involved in a claim, it's not going to put you out of business. So if I can impart any words of wisdom to all of you, I'd say plan, plan, plan. Plan for the unexpected. Plan for the future. If you're not where you need to be, fix it now. Don't wait until later. Don't think if you bury your head in the sand and you work real hard, everything's going to be all right. When things aren't going the way they should, that means you need to change something. We're in a very technologically advanced society. I continually state that the way Ahern does business today is totally different than the way Ahern did business 5 years ago, 3 years ago. It's going to be totally different the way we do it 3 years from now. We're constantly changing our processes because we have to. We rank number 1 or number 2 in many of the websites, the Google searches right now, and there's a reason for that. we're spending an inordinate amount of advertising expense to reach the masses. But we also want to let the small to medium-sized people in the trucking industry know that there is someone they can come to. The only way you can do that is by thinking outside the box and not just making telephone calls. So until next time, thank you for attending the podcast.